touchdowns. And for more, it's always our pleasure to take you out to the site where lead NFL analyst Tony Romo joins us. Tony, this was another exciting one, and I want to go to Baker first and foremost here. What is impressing you the most or catching your attention, not just about the ability, but the downfield accuracy, the variety of throws, and the variability in playmaking right now for the lead quarterback there for Tampa Bay?
He's in that sweet spot of his career where his footwork, his arm talent, and his knowledge of the game all come together, and his athleticism was shown again today. He's slippery, he always gets out, but his instincts, I mean, he's looking off as well as anyone in the National Football League, and his arm talent, it's way up there right now. He's throwing balls that not many quarterbacks, are throwing right now, and he's putting them right in that exact spot. I mean, I couldn't be more impressed with the way that Baker Mayfield is playing. Second favorite in the MVP odds at last check behind only Josh Allen. Speaks to what he's been able to do early on in this season. I don't think it's a bridge too far to climb to that other sideline and pose a question of their quarterback, because we've seen time and again that situation can dictate success. Baker spends a little time with McVay. Darnold spends a little time with KOC. What's Kyle Shanahan doing for Mac Jones' career right now?
Well, you heard us when we were on the air when I talked about that, because I was going through this week. I was like, what's funny is that resurgence of these quarterbacks. The one constant is they each go, whether you call it the quarterback whisperer, but they learn the game and learn how to think at the quarterback position a little bit differently when you get around McVay, you get around O'Connell, you get around Kyle Shanahan. And I think you're seeing these guys really perform at a high level because it tightens up the way you think, and it allows you to kind of be like, oh. And it doesn't mean they haven't been around good coaches. It's just there's just a certain spot that where you're at in your career matches when you go with them. And I think there's a reason why each of these coaches goes out and gets these guys. They see something in them that they think they can work with, and it's shown. And I think Mac Jones has shown that. Today he got fooled twice on interceptions, but I think it's the reason why they were 4-1 coming in a lot of ways because they brought in Mac Jones.
Tony, you and I, we often sit here and wax poetic, about quarterback play, but I want to talk about a quarterback of the defense for the San Francisco 49ers. We're likely not going to utter the name Fred Warner for the remainder of this season, and he remains one of the great defensive players in this league and maybe underappreciated players. For a team already so touched by injury, what does San Francisco lose there in Warner?
Well, I think you found once Warner went out, there was way more open looks for Baker Mayfield. People were wide open, and in the NFL, that's rare. There's people busting on coverages, and one of the touchdowns to Johnson, and then there's other ones where it's just like someone's playing too slow and they didn't get to their spot quick enough. So much of that is because the leader of your defense communicates what the coaches tell you, and he goes ahead and tells the D-line, right, left, hey, cross that off, boom, here we go, down. And it's like that all happens in 2 seconds. That guy's gone. Nobody else with 8 new starters on that defense has even remotely the ability to communicate like that, much less his talent and ability, because he was playing at a Defensive Player of the Year type of level up to this point. And, that hurts your heart for someone like that who works so hard. He's one of the good ones, like just people you root for.
Yeah, he was unfortunate to see him go down in that fashion, and we hate to go out on a morose note, but wishing a speedy recovery there to the star linebacker in San Francisco, Tony Romo. We always appreciate your time here on HQ.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Ed.
So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers improve one better, taking down the San Francisco 49ers here in the Super Bowl, starting 14-0. Brissett in relief, 27 of 42, 320 and 2 touchdowns, but not enough as the Colts improve to 5-1. All right, back in studio with the fellas. Mac, this was maybe closer than Vegas and some of us had expected between these two teams. Colts at home against a Cardinals team dinged up, but it also put them in a position to figure out what you are against a lesser team in a moment when you're trailing. This sort of test that they passed today, different than others.
No question. And this is the theme of the day, I think, for the 1 o'clock games. When you look at teams playing against lesser opponents based on their record, take care of the teams you're supposed to take care of. We talked about that with the Los Angeles Rams playing against a much maligned Baltimore Ravens team. We talked about that with the Pittsburgh Steelers going against the Cleveland Browns. And the same could be said for the Indianapolis Colts because we believe they are a playoff caliber team based on what they've done in the first quarter of the season, playing against a team that was starting their backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. And, of course, they were dealing with a slew of injuries as well. Guess what Indiana did? They won. No style points. But no one cares about that in the National Football League as long as you win. And that's what the good teams are supposed to do. Don't play around with your food, especially when you're at home. You're playing against a team that's trying to find any source of energy, good vibes, get some good juju going. Guess what? Don't give them any glimmer of hope. And that's what we saw. And yes, the thing I love about this game was Daniel Jones. He threw to the wrong color for the first time all year long. What would he do in terms of bouncing back? Forgot about that play.
It's a bad one.
Led the team like he was supposed to lead the team. That was his first piece of turnover adversity so far in the Colts uniform, and he answered the call the right way. And Jonathan Taylor, quiet as kept, he's been a superstar for their team this season. Not surprising, but we cannot go overlook what he's done in terms of the running game that he's provided.
Entered the league leading in rush yards and rushing touchdowns, adds to those totals in this one. Emery, what stood out to you?
The entire Colts team, because they showed you they can win in a multitude of ways. You mentioned a slew of playmakers for Indianapolis. You talk about the run game. That was on point. Check. You talk about Daniel Jones bouncing back. Check. You talk about Josh Downs made a crucial catch in the red zone. Even Alec Pierce made a huge catch to get them down in position to score the game-winning points. And it showed you that they were able to overcome adversity. So Indianapolis showed you that they can win in many different ways. And football is all about timing and how you respond to adversity. We saw the Cardinals do that time and time again. The Colts was able to usurp them, one-up them, and respond at the most crucial moments. It's timely stops. They got those defensively and offensively. They made a big plays to get them down the field.
This was a game that did create headlines before the opening kick, JJ. For that, I come to you. What can you tell us about the latest pregame injuries to Charvarius Ward and Anthony Richardson?
I don't think I've ever heard anything like this before. Anthony Richardson, the former number 4 overall selection, the backup quarterback so far this season behind Daniel Jones, he suffered an orbital fracture during pregame warmups when one of the rubber bands that he was working out with apparently snapped and hit him in the face. He wound up watching the game not from the sideline, not from a suite, but from the local hospital in Indianapolis. Shane Steichen reported after that game. So one of the crazier injuries that you see in all of sports taking place during pregame warmups. Also, Charvarius Ward, he had the $18 million per year contract with the Indianapolis Colts. He suffered a concussion early in the season, missed a game. He came back. He's going through pregame warmups and winds up colliding with tight end Drew Ogletree during warmups, gets laid out, ultimately suffers a concussion, so obviously missed the game. He goes into concussion protocol. 2 big-name players for the Colts. Very, very odd. Does not happen, I don't think, ever in the NFL. Pre-game injuries, quite rare, and 2 of the rarest that you'll see.
Was that a metal band he was playing?
I mean,
I don't know if they make metal bands.
orbital fracture.
That's not nothing.
Tense.
That is not nothing. A team that was offered some attrition here before the game, offered it within, and still comes out a winner, 5-1, the Indianapolis Colts. A look here at your points through 6 games in Colts history here in 2025. $194, only 2 seasons better, and I don't have to check notes to tell you those weren't Peyton Manning's teams.
1958, Alan Amici, greatest football game ever played.
Happens, JJ, 22 in a row now for the Steelers at home against the Browns. In your career, was there a building where the air was just heavier? How much does that play into a matchup like this?
I mean, there's certainly that. The AFC North kind of has those rivalries that go so far back, and unfortunately, the Cleveland Browns have been on the losing side of this building for a very long time. But today, the story of it was they had to get into an offense where they had to throw the ball 58 times with rookie quarterback Dylan Gabriel. And that's just not the game plan they wanted to have coming into today, but that's the way it turned out.
I want to pull out a couple of those strings that you offer there. Let's go Steelers first, because the divisional waters in some ways have parted for them. They look primed to claim this one. We'll see how the numbers react to the outcomes here once again. But when you look at a run game that came to life here on Sunday and what they can be down the stretch, how much positivity is there boiling in that building right now?
Yeah, I think early in this season, they just found ways to win. They weren't playing their best football at all early on, but they still scraped out these victories with not giving up penalties and having a plus turnover ratio. But now they're starting to look like a football team that's figuring it out. Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf having a lot of success recently. The defense taking the ball away, getting sacks, starting to look like that old Pittsburgh Steelers defense that we know. So as that gap widens, they're going to continue to get stronger here and hopefully put a lockhold on it if you're a Steelers fan.
Yeah, identity you wanted established through this first third of the season, and it looks, as you said, like a Pittsburgh Steelers team that we've come to know despite all the changes here personnel-wise. On the other side, Dillon Gabriel, you said it. He was asked to throw the ball maybe a few too many times. You are playing from a chase game script that's always going to inflate those numbers. But how do you assess the play also regarding what we know is waiting behind Gabriel for an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that's a conversation that the media loves to make because it's a conversation that draws clicks and everything. I think Dillon Gabriel has this offense. He's in command of it. He's the one who they are trying to build this around, and Shedeur is going to continue to grow and develop in that role behind him. But you just talk to everybody around the organization. You see how he handles himself. You see how Coach Stefanski talks about Dillon Gabriel. You can tell they want to try and cultivate it, but you have to get the run game going. You have to make it easier on him. You have to stay ahead of the sticks. And today, a lot of drop balls, in addition to some overthrows and behind throws. But he's the guy that they want to build around, I think. And that conversation is always going to be there because of who Shedeur is and what he did in college.
That's how they approach the draft. That's the conversation that now carries through. But as you said, Dillon Gabriel, you can learn some things in losses as well. Calm in the face of adversity. We'll see if they can start stacking up some wins from here. J.J. Watt, always appreciative of your time.